Your average Telugu film is announced with a puja and a clap, and Major was announced in Variety. So
It means
and so I mean, I just think.
I love that.
just saying.
So
Casual flex. People have immense faith in him because he's relentless in his pursuit of perfection. He is, and I don't have such discipline or that level of absolute submission to a project. I don't know, but I see that in him, and it really inspires me, and I can see why people put that faith in him.
When I was watching the movie, a friend's younger sibling who's in school was sitting next to me and she kept going, "Oh, I learned about this. Oh, I learned about this. Oh, I learned about this."
Yeah.
And I feel like that also shows how much research you've put into it. Because like people are actually relating to what they studied and what they're seeing. Sobhita, Saiee, welcome to Film Companion. You guys have a major film up for release, so thank you for making the time for me.
I like that spin. I like it. I like it.
Allow me to take you back to November 2019 when you penned this really lovely note talking about how researching for Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan's life made you question the way you live your own life. Do you remember what you meant?
I think it was the start of the change. We were a few months away from shoot. We'd locked the script. We're in the middle of pre-production. I'm the writer of the film. So my involvement was a lot more than the days I'm supposed to act. And I'd done so much research into his life, and I was constantly under the impression of being able to understand him mentally. But certain things were starting to hit me emotionally.
Okay.
This idea that this man could live with this philosophy of Jaan Dunga Desh Nahi, which became the hashtag of the film. Not that he said it, but if you look at those 4 words, encapsulate every decision he's ever taken. The way he lived, the way he loved, the way his friendships were, the way his marriage was. And even his final words, if Gandhiji had Hey Ram as his final words, Major Sandeep's final words are, "Don't come up, I'll handle them." Somebody who can live every facet of their life from a place of concern for others first. How do you understand such a person? And to know that he's from Kerala, grew up in Bangalore, was an officer in Hyderabad cantonment, was in training officer in Haryana, fought in Kashmir, carried someone in Kashmir, saved hundreds of people in Mumbai. All this while being a fun guy with a bright smile, loved action movies, is a Schwarzenegger fan. It's called Sandy by his friends. That was starting to really impact me. That there's somebody so full of life whose life cannot be determined and defined by his final 36 hours.
Absolutely.
It was a beautiful 31 years that shaped his 36 hours.
Yeah. You know, his life lends itself so organically to the cinematic experience. There's heroism, there's patriotism, there's tragedy, there's love, there's literally all of it. So, as the writer and the actors as well, what did you see as your responsibility then towards him and doing right by his story on celluloid?
I think the responsibility wasn't so much to recreate things that happened in his life. Exactly. Because you're taking 31 years. The moment you put music behind it, it's not an exact recreation anymore. So it's not to recreate, was he wearing a blue shirt there, so I'll put a blue shirt here. The idea was to find this sort of truth in his spirit, truth in his soul, and make sure that that is there in every scene that we write. We took sometimes things that might have happened 5 years apart and put them in one scene. But every scene, I can honestly say, in the film has the truth of his soul in it. And that was the responsibility we had. And I think over the course of the film, Uncle and Auntie in the beginning were like, but we said it like this, not like this, when we were discussing scenes. And eventually I think they started to see what I was seeing, and I started to see how they feel. That as long as we capture the spirit of this man, the audience have, are, and will witness something extraordinary.
My first impression of Isha, that what I gauged from what Sesh told me, was that she brought like a sense of innocence and purity in his life. So I think that was my main like headspace where I had to be more myself and not like, because when I heard for the first time, I was like, okay, there's something, you know, the seriousness, there's this, there's that. But when that came into light, I think I went across from a different headspace. I think that is what really helped me play Isha.
This film there's 31 years of Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan's life. That's one track. And there's a parallel track that runs through, which is about 36 hours of the Taj operation. So they run parallel in the film, and at some point they collide. I play Pramoda, who it's based on a real person actually. We changed the gender and the name of the person to guard their privacy. So I represent the inner story of Taj, what really happened, and I think that's a significant perspective because it's impossible to fathom through imagination. While playing the part, it was very important to me that I had no pretense, because I think when we're playing a fictional part that's written, I think there is scope for interpretation, improvisation. But when it's a real person, I think it becomes very important for us to submit to it wholly, almost be in service of that experience. My intention was to be absolutely truthful, and I mean, thank God there was backup at the end of the day. You know, I had that privilege of retreating from that world, but to think that somebody went through something so immense as an experience, wherein you are somebody who checks into a hotel and you're in your room maybe having a cup of coffee, and then you hear sounds and they're gunshots, it's a bomb blast, they're terrorists. Like how do you comprehend like what happens next? Will you make it? Will you not make it? It's a crisis that's also very existential. So it's hard to find a reference point to it. So, but from whatever I've heard from Sesh and Shashi, our director, they've interacted with the person. I drew from that, and I try to do my best to be authentic with it. That was in my control. I mean, to be sincere with it was really not a choice. It was my duty. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, at the press con for the film, Mahesh Babu said that when he was asked about doing a Hindi film, he said his responsibility towards being a pan-India actor goes beyond just doing a Hindi film, but more along the lines of getting more people across India to watch Telugu films, which I thought was a very interesting take. Is that something that you resonate with?
You know, I think it's an extraordinary way to look at things, and it's precisely how I feel Rajmouli sir also did it. You know, he opened the floodgates for the idea of a pan-Indian film with Bahubali, but he never shot it in Hindi, did he? He shot it in Telugu and brought the glory of Telugu cinema and made it Indian cinema. You know, and I think for me, when taking the decision to have Major be shot by shot, scene by scene, dialogue by dialogue in Telugu, shot by shot, scene by scene in Hindi, carefully as a Hindi film, we essentially made exactly two films with different lengths, mind you. That was from a place of what this story demanded. You know, Major Sandeep has lived all over. Spoke Hindi extremely fluently, spoke Malayalam extremely fluently, English extremely fluently. So we try to depict it from that space. If anything, the Telugu is probably because I'm a Telugu actor, isn't it? And out of respect to being authentic, I tried to speak Malayalam for a day.
How'd that go?
And I knew that it was going to take 5 years for me to make a proper shot in Malayalam film as well. So I decided to dub it then. So I understand Mahesh sir's feeling, that idea that we want to take what we're making and make that bigger. We don't need to fit into the hierarchy of something else, because we are all ultimately making Indian film.
Sure. And it's another major move for him that he's producing a film that he doesn't star in. It's a first.
It's a
The
for
first
him.
time he's ever done it.
Yeah, I'm curious, how did you guys manage to convince him to not do the film himself, is what I mean.
No, he never. No, I have to admit, in his grace, he never said that.
He
never
didn't want
asked.
to partake.
Yeah, no, I mean, he never even. I don't think that even ever came up. And I think even at our trailer launch, he answered it beautifully in Telugu when he said, "I'm not the kind of guy. The moment I see something good, I think I should do it."
Yeah, like I want it. But it's special, you know. I feel like when someone who's so accomplished, when they lend their name to something, it is given to you with trust that you must uphold.
Yeah.
And his, in fact, during the lockdowns, there was a little concern. Shit, do you think this might just end up becoming like an OTT film? And because it has been especially shot for the theatrical experience, you know, like as a team, you feel like, we hope, you know, it can still. And he showed so much confidence as a producer, saying, no, it was shot for that theatrical experience, and we will hold on to what we believe is the right way to go about it. So that kind of faith from your producer, it really translates to a lot of like you know, renewed team spirit. It means a lot. So I think I really appreciated his influence as a producer. It was very positive.
Not to mention, it was Namrata Garu, his wife, an accomplished actor in her own right. She's also a producer on the film, and it was her idea to take my dream of this being watched by Hindi audience in a way where she encouraged it, brought Sony on board. I mean, your average Telugu film is announced with a puja and a clap, and Major was announced in Variety. So
It means
and you know, so I mean, I just think.
I love that.
just say
So
casual flex.
So I just think I just think that what they wanted to do with it is they understood the value of what Major Sandeep's story is. Not to mention, they never actually asked the story completely before announcing the film. They heard the script, including Sony, a company, a corporate company. They asked for the script after the announcement was done.
But also, I think, sorry,
Yeah.
I think that comes from faith in you as a creator. Because he's like, I've done a film with him called Gudachari, which
Can we
is
not
dubbed
say a
on.
film called Gudachari?
Yeah.
It's the biggest
it was
success of my career.
Okay. No, I mean, I don't.
It's only got
Literally
hundreds of
just
millions.
coming to that, but go on.
It's only got like 125 million views in Hindi.
Hey, it's called Intelligent Khiladi.
I don't look down upon it. You know, I don't look down upon it. I think it's beautiful because we were shooting in Kashmir, and
People recognize you for it.
Yeah, they know me as
let
Intelligent
talk
Khiladi.
So we did that film. Oh shit, what was I talking about? So we did that film, and during the course of that film, we had very limited resources. It was really shot like an indie, honestly. So when it went on to do really well, you feel so good that, you know, when your resources are limited, but your dream is so vast, you really, like, people are bound together by the desire to just, oh man, we're gonna make a good film. No, we'll do it, you know. And I think that is so beautiful. It's unparalleled. And when the film did well, there was just such a sense of encouragement and and motivation that no, you want to do something, you can do it. Here is an example, you know. It really, and also through the course of that film, I have watched Sesh obsess about Major Sandeep Unnikrishnan, and it was the very, like, almost like the initial, like the genesis, I think. Because for years he was obsessed with him and his journey, and I've really seen him build this story into a film, and I feel like I've perhaps been the first audience to it, you know, way before I thought I'd get a chance to be a part of it. So maybe at some level the film has been marinating inside me, but people have immense faith in him because he's relentless in his pursuit of perfection. He is, and I don't have such discipline or that level of, you know, I don't know, absolute submission to a project. I don't know, but I see that in him, and it really inspires me, and I can see why people put that faith in him.
Wow.
Well, I mean,
Can we all go home now?
well, if I need a resume, can you just give me a clip of this?
But talk to me a little bit about just working with the dream team. Your director, Shashi as well, and you
Yeah.
guys collaborated on the film.
Yeah.
What is that comfort that comes with coming back and collaborating as a team?
The freedom to be wrong, because you will not be judged. You will be like, if you falter, they will tell you you faltered. Neither will they comfort you, nor will they judge you. You know, so there's a sense of
Really? We didn't comfort you at all?
I love what she's saying. It makes so much sense.
like, and you know, like how they say, we worked together as a family. It wasn't like a set, it was like a family. But the truth is, I feel like we were like a family because we fought all the time. And you know, and we fought for the sake of the film. I believe it should be like this. No, I think, why did you, you know, all of that came from a place of everybody feeling like they owned the film and they wanted to belong with it. And that's, you know, like the enthoness of like being on a college project where everyone, you know, feels like they own. So I think we worked with that spirit and not like people hired to do their job for a project. So
I think it's important for me to speak about the latest addition to our dream team for a second. Because both Saiee and Sobhita have such different approaches to this film. Sobhita heard what we said about that man's words, a Telugu man, and his feelings and experiences of those 2 days, and interpreted and brought with it the sense that I'm going to play it like this. Even if this came instinctively in the camera rather than it being something she said. Saiee, on the other hand, was this, you know, I have to admit, openly admit that we had some preconceived notions ki yaar, you know, ab star kid hai, you know, she might say that this is how I want to do things, or, you know, the big cliche of dealing with an endless supply of managers rather than dealing with the person themselves. And I've had my share of experiences on that. And my first experience was meeting her and Medhaji at the park in Vizag when they were at another shoot. And they were so kind and so generous. She walked into set like a blank canvas. And a lot of people can mistake that for naivete. And she has sometimes said it in interviews that Isha is a naive character, so I'm also like that. I didn't find her naive at all. I find her instinctive. And she is an extremely potent person. And I saw her a couple of times really deliver. And I ended up going and redoing, like, and I ended up going
so
and
mature, Saiee, stop it.
redoing my take because I was like, holy hell, she's done something. And my stuff isn't standing. So there was that. And Saiee is sort of the water to my fire. Without him, there's no calm, there's no steadiness to the ship. Saiee is busy putting finishing touches on the mix right now in Hyderabad. So it's a reunion for sure.
Yeah.
But it is that reunion times 10 in terms of how beautiful this film's become.
So we know what to expect then.
Not just expect, what people have seen.
Yeah.
Did I mention this? That, you know, we did some secret screenings. 17.
And now you guys are even showing the film to public as a
Right.
screening well before release.
Yeah, so people have done that. People have shown a screening to their friends. They've shown it 2 days before release. What we're doing
Not
is,
in an organized way where you've tied up with Book
Yeah.
My Show.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
and
it's
like-
a rock concert like thing. Like
No,
10
at a time
cities.
when you have social media, that can be a bit of a gutsy decision. So is that just how confident you guys are?
No, I mean, we simply ask people to leave their phones outside the theatre. So there's no worry about piracy.
But they'll come
What
out
the
and
very,
tweet.
like, one
That's
nanny.
what I mean.
Oh, yeah, that's great because when we did the
Nanny
secret
cam.
screenings for 1,700 people, people were screaming Bharat Mata ki jai as they walked out. People were crying, people were laughing in the beautiful scenes. Sai's family, about I think 50, 70 people saw it yesterday. And the kind of phone calls I got from her family and Sajid Najadwala sir's family and all these people, I'm like, all right, well, it looks like
We're
I've
good.
signed up for a...
We
So,
good.
in a genuine historic first, a big Indian film is being shown in 9-10 cities 10 days before release across the country.
It's the first time I've obviously heard something like this.
No,
so.
I think more than, I mean, it's one thing if you were to look at it as a show of confidence, but like our marketing team that's here, not once through the course of shoot, post, or even pre-release, these activities have we discussed, man, how do we land that box office collection? Obviously, we want to be rewarded financially because it motivates us to sort of take up meaningful projects after. But the discussion has always been about how can we get more people to watch this, know about this, because this man's life is so exemplary. How can we put it out there? And there are schools in Bangalore and Hyderabad that
Teach him as a chapter now.
that teach his life as
They
in their
teach him in
curriculum.
Kerala, they teach him in Bangalore, and Saiee was telling me that. Tell me
Where?
what.
Oh, so when I was watching the movie, a friend's younger sibling who's in school was sitting next to me and she kept going, "Oh, I learned about this. Oh, I learned about this. Oh, I learned about this."
Yeah.
And I feel like that also shows how much research you've put into it. Because like people are actually relating to what they studied and what they're seeing.
It's like, I mean, at one point we perhaps had like, you know, a Bhagat Singh, you know, freedom fighters that are revered and you know, celebrated. So I feel like in today's times we have examples like that must be put out there, because they were ordinary people put in extraordinary circumstances, and the choices they made deserve so much celebration and respect. It's inspiring.
Of course. This year marks 20 years of you on cinema.
Really?
What?
Well, actually,
does.
Let me.
You're my age in cinema?
Let me clearly explain. Let me clearly explain what it was. So I was this 15-year-old kid, and I landed a gig as a lead as a teenager, and I used
What
to put.
film is this?
I'll tell you. I used to put mascara on my face to actually look like I have a stubble.
Oh my god. I've seen you in a movie on TV once. I'll tell you later which one it is.
And that film never happened.
Thank God.
So I'm like this depressed 15-year-old kid from the States. You know, I'm like, what do I do? Somebody says we're free-making Dil Chahta Hai in Telugu, but it's with 4 people. You'll get to be the 4th. And I'm just 15. Okay, what do I know? Right? 15, 16. So I'm like, all right,
I'm in.
We shoot for 3 days, and then they go, Khatam. So I actually realized I'm actually on the film for 5 seconds.
But it's okay.
It counts.
So yeah, it counts. But then for 11 years after that, I wasn't in the Indian movie business. I was in the States.
You started off 20 years ago?
Well, there you go.
But I'm curious to know, you refer to this as your 3.0 version. So tell me about the 1.0 and the 2.0 that you've...
1.0 was 2011 when I think I don't mean to sound arrogant, I kind of exploded onto the scene as this main villain in Punjab, directed by Vishnuvardhan Garu, the director of Shersha. And, you know, it really, I mean, I'm talking like 500 phone calls in 2 hours of the morning show. Like, that's the kind of, I'm like, what is happening? My phone crashed. And
Budget problems.
and I kept trying to, you know, play lead roles, but the films were not good, and I kept being villains. So in 2015, after Bahubali Part 1 happened, where I was one more time a villain, my sort of journey as a lead actor started with Kshanam. That was 2.0, where I knew I was only going to listen to my creative instincts and not worry about what other people think. And it was extraordinary because I've only done 4 films since, and each of those films has gotten great reviews. You guys have given me great reviews. Each of those films has made 4 or 5 or 6 times its budget. You know, and then 3.0 was a few months ago. I think it was no longer just about being creative, but it's about understanding that you've got something even more potent than just, oh, I'm a creative sort, hopefully you like it. This is, yo, we're trying to change something here. We're trying to make stuff that makes people know about somebody who changed the fate of this country. That's not just about my dream.
It's bigger than that.
So that's version 3.0.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Telugu cinema clearly is riding a very big wave, and it's amazing to see you guys at the forefront of that. I'm curious to know what are the conversations like when you meet as this generation of Telugu actors? Is there a collective dream? What do you guys talk about?
We don't look at it as a wave because waves eventually crash. We look at it as a long pending sense of deserving. And the fact that I was able to discover a Kumbalangi Nights in the lockdown, the fact that I hooted and hollered and screamed and enjoyed KGF in the theatre, shows that there's these extraordinary stories from the south of India that are being loved and respected by all of India now. And I'm someone who still has the same love for Hum Aapke Hai Kaun or A Kal Ho Na Ho, whatever. And I think our thing is that Telugu cinema isn't riding a wave. Telugu cinema is now Indian cinema. Hindi cinema is now Indian cinema. It used to be that Hindi cinema is Indian cinema. Telugu cinema, Malayalam cinema and Kannada cinema are regional cinema. It's all Indian cinema.
I mean, cinema in the beginning was kind of used as a tool to educate people about certain cultures. I like to know that, say, someone from a Budgam in Kashmir will watch a super deluxe from a Tamil film, or someone from Kanpur who watches a Tithi from Kannada. I'm saying this mingling, I mean, Tithi is still like slightly alternative, but I'm saying for people from different regions to discover the cultures of those lands through cinema, I think is so beautiful because it's such a diverse nation. There's so many languages that we speak. Like when India as a team plays a cricket match, we're not saying, Pandya is from here, Dravid is from like Karnataka.
So with the IPL, we kind of do now.
Yeah, but like they're not like state bound. No?
We don't say Rahul Dravid, the South Indian batsman, is walking out. Like you don't say.
It's true. So we cheer for the team. I think cinema is meant to be an experience that brings people closer together because it's confrontational. It confronts what it means to be human. So when we are able to discover and explore different languages in cinema, that is just wo ek zariya hai bas. That's not the. So I am greatly enjoying this, this sort of mingling. I'm enjoying it as an audience.
Yeah.
Because I suddenly feel seen. I'm a Telugu, like my mother tongue is Telugu. My beginnings have been in Hindi, and I never felt like I had to pick a side because I am Indian, Yeah. Or I mean, emotions are universal. Even when I did the film with Dev Patel, which is an English language film, and then I'm like, wait, not just Telugu or Hindi.
Is that a casual flex? That's a casual flex, isn't it?
No, I didn't say my Hollywood debut. Okay.
Now you did.
But yeah, it's amazing, and I think lockdowns have in a way catalyzed that because people are a little more open to discovering beauty.
After hearing these amazing words from Mahesh Manjrekar sir last night, I realized that Major has enabled that melting pot to happen again. Here, Mahesh Manjrekar sir, I mean, there's a big link, between Namrata Garu producing this and him having directed Vastav and him being her dad. There's this big Vastav connection for the film. I ended up telling him after hearing all these compliments, and he's known as somebody who's extremely frank and honest with his opinion, never gives compliments that easy.
He really doesn't.
And after he said what he said, I said, "You're now my favorite Mahesh in North India."
But is it true that you learned a bit of Telugu to be able to play the role?
I learned all my lines. Well,
No, but
you can wake me up from my sleep in the middle of the night and I'll tell you them, all of them, I swear.
So it's safe to say that an actress can no longer just look pretty and have someone dub their lines for them, right?
Well,
I mean, if that's what works for you, I'm not going to be mean to anyone, but I feel like that's what they wanted for this movie and I want to give that justice, and I think that's where it kind of happened.
I think she's also underrepresenting what she did. She shot for 25 days for the movie. She probably dubbed as many days to get the Telugu diction right. People usually dub 1 or 2 days for people who don't know. So she actually stayed and really gave it her part. And all actors in this film, me, Sobhita, Saiee, Prakash Raj sir,
Revati ma'am,
Revati garu,
Anish.
Murli Sharma garu, Anish, every person dubbed for themselves in Hindi and dubbed for themselves in Telugu.
It's amazing. I have so many more questions, but I have to quickly wrap now. And you and I spoke in 2019
Yeah.
when she had really broken onto the scene with Made in Heaven, and you told me then that you will feel successful once it translates into more work and tangible opportunities for you. Of course, we went into the pandemic then, but today,
Yeah.
do you feel successful?
I feel successful. I do. Because
Beautiful.
I have actualized my dream, and I was just telling somebody that the past 3 years I've had the opportunity to question who I am as a person, not because I'm trying to find myself, but I'm trying to listen to myself. And I think in that effort, I'm understanding that there's so much for me to be grateful for, that I don't want to be a whining bitch about it.
I can just listen to her all day. Finally, before I let you guys go, you've been having some fun with the Mumbai press. They asked you about the clash with Vikram and Prithviraj, and I love how you said that Major is the goldfish in the sea of releases. Just out of curiosity, wouldn't you rather be the shark?
He'd rather
Shark.
be a dolphin.
I would actually, because sharks devour and dolphins play. I would rather be that, but setting aside all those metaphors, what I really meant was, look, I've grown up, every one of us has grown up on Kamal sir's films, right? Vasanta Kokila, Sadma is my favorite, it's my top 5 all time. I've danced on Tu Cheez Badhiya Mast Mast in school. You know, I mean, these are big icons
Yeah.
of the Indian movie business. So it wasn't so much about that. I think it was a very honest way of saying, at the end of the day, there is a much bigger Telugu audience for Major than there is for a dubbed version of Prithviraj. That's just the fact. That's the way of it. And vice versa. So I was talking about how each film is big in its own respective market because of our own respective bases. And other than that, I felt that when you keep saying, because that whole day I kept getting thrown big film, big fish, big film, big fish. I said, "Theek hai yaar. They are absolutely big fish. There's no doubt about it. But we're goldfish, and we have our own shine. We're all sweet. Scientifically, goldfish are freshwater fish, but that's beside the point."
And I was like, a goldfish has a memory of 8
8
seconds.
seconds, yeah.
I'm like, did you just, I don't know what you did there, but okay.
So I think when you take something said with in a sweet manner, not in jest, but in
You could have said,
a
"We are
softer
mermaids."
way, in a softer way, and punched it into a headline, it looks a lot more intense and says, "Oh, he said this." You know, it wasn't that really.
No, but I think you guys are making all the right noises, and just the fact that you're so eager to show the film to so many people shows that there's something special there. Thank you so much for chatting with me,
Thank
and
you,
all the
Sana.
best for the film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.